Hello, and welcome to a special edition of Digest Hits the Trails. I'm Jack McCarthy, and I'm joined by Trails Committee Chair, Joe Greeley. We're down at Endean. Am I saying it right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So you and I did this trail a couple of weeks ago. It's way bigger than I would have thought. Is it like, how big is it?
Yeah, the property, so this is a conservation property. The Conservation Commission manages it, they oversee it. It's combined with the Hawes Pool area. That's a different Hawes area. But the combined areas are close to 40 acres. This area is interesting. It's got some residents on the side, shared space with the Little League fields. The Coakley Middle School is here, and there's a whole gaggle of fields out back. On the Hawes side, the rec department obviously has the Hawes Pool. So it's a stew pot of relationships and buffers and boundaries, and it's one big open space.
Yeah, and there's several trails there. It's not just one. I think we did the long one. It was about 1.5 miles maybe.
Yeah,
but you can go what different lengths?
So we've got kind of a small, medium, and large. First of all, let me back up a second. The Trails Committee started about 2.5 years ago. Prior to that, it was an open space. The neighbors used it, but very few other people other than, in my backyard, basically, people would know about it. So since that time, we've drawn maps. We've got a couple of maps here. This is Shattuck Park, but it's the same deal. We've got maps on the town website, Trails Committee website. But here on Endean, there's 5 different trails. And we've just added this orchard area, the High Meadow here. We're right at the intersection of Mylod Street and Washington Street. It's accessible by the 34E bus, by the way. But here, we've actually just added the 5th trail, which basically goes from the meadow, the apple orchard is right behind Jack. And it leads probably about 2/3 of a 3/4 of a mile into the woods where it connects up with 3 other trails. So there's about 2.5 to 3 miles worth of trails here.
So what are some of the other trails around town? Besides Shattuck, Endean, I know there's one, it's a funny name, brook, begins with a P or...
Yep, so there's altogether, we've identified about 22 or 23 areas that they're either current trails or they're potential future trails, depending on, bridges and access and things like that. Currently we have 5 maps on our website. We have Endean and Hawes is actually one. Hennessy Field is on Pleasant Street. Shattuck Park on Nichols. We've got the Ellis Pond area. And the 5th one that we've got currently is Germany Brook, which Germany Brook goes from the Willett School to Father Max. So each one of those is a little bit different. There's Shattuck and Hennessy, there's no heavy lifting. Shattuck Park is almost totally flat. The area around Hawes Pool likewise is flat. It's it's not quite ADA friendly, but it's a lot, it's easy to maneuver through. You get up to Endean here and there's some hills and, some areas where you've got to kind of be a little more adept, but pretty much anybody, 0 to 60, anybody who's 2 years old or 97 can maneuver most of this.
So if I'm going to take, Shattuck's pretty short, so you don't really need that much preparation. But if you're going to do the 1.5 miles here, what tips do you have for people?
Yep, so it depends on the time of year. What we tell people, I've got my handy kit bag here. I don't bring it all the time, but typically what we tell people, regardless, this isn't the Appalachian Trail, obviously, but it's the best we have. So we always tell people to be prepared. You can either print out a map off our website, the Trails website, or you can just grab a PDF. You can download it off the site onto a phone or any kind of tablet or anything. We always advise people it doesn't have to be cut or backwoods, but there are a lot of bugs depending on the time of day. There are definitely here, especially anywhere, any of the trails where you see deer or you hear about deer on the trails. The Public Health Department, Sigal Reese and the department have some great resources both online and in paper form to give you some information about ticks. Ticks are prevalent There's really, and they're prevalent all year long. A lot of people think they go away, and they're like the baseball season. They're only out from April to September, but they're actually out all year long. So it's always good to take precautions. There's a couple of products you can basically spray on your clothes, and that does a better job of keeping the ticks away. But ticks are probably the number one thing to be aware of out here. So, I've got some water in here. I have some important, not that I need it, but if you're going on a longer walk, I always bring some hand sanitizer. I bring some important papers. not that you need them here, of course, but that old adage of be prepared. Summertime, anytime really, you should.
Yeah.
Got some sun spray and sun stuff here. But it's basically, and snacks for the kids. If you got a dog, if you're bringing kids, just be flexible, have a plan B.
And don't forget water for the dog too.
Water, absolutely. A working cell phone. And yeah, water for the dog is important, not only for the dog, but for yourself. So, because you never know, you might be having so much fun, you might want to stay twice as long, and you might need to be prepared for that.
So while we were waiting, we got to see the 2 eagles flying around here.
Yeah, I paid them.
Which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But what else do you see when you're in these trails?
Here at Endean, it's mostly dry, so you don't see, so you tend to see more like the up the field critters, deer, chipmunks, raccoon occasionally. A lot of people have actually seen coyote here, and the coyote are becoming more and more brave. Like as time progresses, they'll get more and more into people's neighborhoods, which we need to deal with in a different way. There are a couple of eagles that a lot of people have spotted throughout town. Excuse me. I'll see snakes, woodchucks. It's really kind of funny.
Any whistle pigs?
No, that's afterwards. That comes afterwards. There's a family out taking their dog for a walk, which is typical. There's always walkers here, dog walkers especially.
But they should also bring bags and stuff to pick up after their dogs.
Yep. Bring one.
It's not free reign. Dogs can just do whatever they want.
People think dog poop deteriorates and it's good for the environment. It's one of the most
Harmful?
I won't say poisonous, but it's definitely harmful because it's so in the same, it's the same thing. If your dog drops something accidentally or on purpose, you should definitely find a home for it. Pack it in, pack it out. So, but yeah, they should have a bag. We're currently in COVID season here. Ordinarily, there's a receptacle down the bottom of the hill that usually people can go and grab an extra bag if they've forgotten one. With the COVID conditions, they don't stock those, so you're requested to bring your own.
So I noticed when last time you and I were here going through the trail, this little storybook thing wasn't here. So tell me about this.
Yep. So we are trying to foster, through this, a lot of our outreach. People have actually, they've learned about these locations, which is great. That's really why we're doing it. But they're thinking of different alternative ways to use it. Some people look at the trail as, okay, I can go for a walk, I can take the kids or take a dog or whatever. What we're looking at here is it's called a story walk. Marie Duffy Kidd works for Norwood Public Schools, and this is actually her 3rd story walk that she's laid out on three different locations. And basically what it is, she works in the Norwood Public Schools with the younger, I think 3 to 5, 3 to 6 year old kids. So the stories that she lays out are geared towards that age group. But it's a great way, it's open to the public. She posted it on a couple of the Facebook pages. And it's basically just a way to, get families out into some fresh air, maybe to an area that they've never seen before, which is great. It extends the outdoor classroom and the outdoor learning. While they're out here, they might see an eagle or a hawk or whatever. So, it's not only the books, but Marie especially has championed these story walks, and it's pretty cool. In this case, the name of this book is The Apple Pie Tree, and I thought that was pretty appropriate since she put it in the orchard. She's trying to get the apple trees to actually pay attention and do something. You know, she has come to us a couple times and, you know, looking for ideas and looking for locations. So we also, about 3 weeks ago, we were contacted by a woman who actually lives in Westwood, but she comes to Norwood a lot. She's always welcome. But she is active in geocaching, which is a game. It's a game basically that people play, and it's almost like orienteering or a scavenger hunt, but it uses GPS to identify a location for.
Oh, okay.
So
That's pretty cool.
So she's installed 3 different geocaches down in the woods. So.
All right. So since we're here, let's. We're not going to do the whole thing, but let's take a look at some of the highlights of the trail.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
All right. So where we were walking, there was tall grass on either side. So who did this for us?
Yep. So this has always been a meadow. Actually, the town bought the whole property from the Bird family. And over time, the DPW especially, they do a great job at maintaining the trails. The cross country, the junior high and the high school team, high school cross country teams, they run on these, and they've run on them for years. So that's why the paths are wide. You know, they're well maintained. Pretty much all year long. When I was over here the other night, there were 4 or 5 young men doing their practices and just running through the trails. It's great in the wintertime, cross country skis, snowshoes. The trails are well maintained. There are enough people here. You know, if you come really late in the afternoon, you might be the only person here, so you got to use caution there, whether it's critters or not critters. But otherwise, it's a great place all year, 12 months a year.
Yeah. I was just say most of this is pretty dry, but I see reeds, so I just assume that's a wetland there.
Yep. So at the top of the meadow, we actually have but the Conservation Commission has contracted with a couple of farmers. They come up a couple of times a year and they hay the fields, and then they take the hay and they feed their animals with it. It's basically the bottom of the bowl here with the wetlands. This is where all the water drains. We just passed over a couple of underground streams. They come down from the top of Mylod and they just come through the woods, and they eventually work their way into the wetlands here. That's actually this is one of the main reasons why this is conservation land, is because of the wetlands. You can see the cat nine tails, the reeds, goldenrod. You'd never know unless you craned your neck a little bit and saw the stanchions with the light towers with the Little League field. You'd never really know that you're in scenic Norwood.
Right.
If you move down about 15 feet, you can actually see the Blue Hills from here, which is kind of cool.
Well, let's do that.
Okay.
So here's where I think, when I look at this place, I think of the Wizard of Oz. And I'm the Scarecrow, and you could go that way, or you could go that way,
right.
Or this way's nice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is, where you make your decision how far you want to go.
Right. We do, on our maps, we do have distances on them as well. So, it's really whatever people have the mind to do. We're real close to all the fields, the soccer field and football and baseball, softball fields over behind the Coakley. So I was actually here earlier this week, and several people dropped the kids off and then they walked themselves through the trails. It's just a way to, get some exercise for 45 minutes.
Sure.
And you can, because of that, you basically won't get lost.
Yeah.
Or I might, but you wouldn't, and Megan wouldn't. But it's pretty easy to maneuver through these, and you get different flavors. You've got easy trail, like the meadow is wide open. You've got this area here where almost always when I'm down here, I'll always see rabbits and other stuff like that down a little bit further.
Yeah.
This route goes out to the hill overlooking the soccer fields and the softball field. So
But when you're here, and Megan, maybe you could do a 360. Like you feel like you're in the middle of nowhere. You have no idea. You know, it's beautiful. It's very quiet. It's very serene, and it's as you said. You don't feel like you're in sweet Norwood.
Yeah. It's one of the like Germany Brook over by Father Max is similar because you're so much surrounded by mom nature here that you don't really know where you are. And like I said, 12 months a year, it's a great place. It's you know, you can always find something to do. We got some hawks and other crows and other things around here, but you know, so it's a real nice, it's a great resource. You know, it'd be good if more people knew about it and used it. What we're trying to do with the Trails Committee, we're always looking for different ways to get different people involved and to come out and use the areas. This week coming up, we actually just scheduled a cleanup day at the Hennessy Field on Pleasant Street near Murphy Field. So Saturday afternoon, we're going to do a couple hours worth of cleanup there. At the end of October, this is the third year in a row that we've worked with Progress Norwood, which it's a group of, I don't know, they probably have 100 to 150 people associated with the group. But what we're planning, we're in the early stages, but we're planning last 2 years was essentially a family Halloween walk through the trails.
Oh, nice.
So it's a lot of fun. Last year we had about 60 to 70 people. So a lot of fun.
Okay. All right, so we got a little idea of what that trail's like. We got a big idea of all the stuff that's going on with trails. In closing, what do you want people to know?
Well, thank you. Thanks for having us. At this point, we're really all about outreach. We thrive on feedback as well. So if people are always getting in touch with us about some hazard, tree down on the trail, for instance, or I have a gentleman who's every 3 weeks or so, he's the wouldn't it be great if department. And basically, I've never met him actually, but he comes up with some great ideas. We just want people to get out and utilize the open space that we have here in town. It's all about education at this point. We'd love to have more involvement, we really missed not having Norwood Day this year because for the last 2 years we had a Norwood Day booth and we got 250 to almost 300 people stop by the booth and give us some great ideas and take some swag home. And we work for we're in the organizational chart for the town manager, so we work for Tony. We work closely with the Conservation Commission. Holly Jones is the new conservation agent. So Paul Halkiotis, Mark Ryan. We think it's a great resource and we just want people to know about it and hopefully use it.
So why don't you give the website or the email just so if people want to reach out?
Yep. So you can find us on the town website if you just Google Norwood Trails or Norwood Trails Committee. We have a separate page on the town. If you just go to norwoodma.gov, that'll take you to the town's homepage, and then just put in the word trails and it'll lead you to our spot. Our email address is trails@norwoodma.gov.
Okay.
Love to have it.
And that's going to do it for Digest Hits the Trails. Thanks to Megan Corbett for being the chief cook and bottle washer on this. We got to use some new equipment, a new GoPro, so that's kind of exciting. And I got to see the Eagles for the first time, so it's all good. So thank you for allowing us into your living rooms. Good day and keep safe.